We're hiking across Japan, from the northeastern tip of Hokkaido all the way to the southern part of the country. Our journey started in Shiretoko, and we're making our way through South Hokkaido towards Hakodate, completing the first stage of our journey. This route took us through some very remote mountains and down to the tranquil coastline of Hokkaido. Along the way we made many new friends. These people were very curious about our hiking journey and incredibly warm and welcoming. Between relaxing at festivals and soaking in onsens, we faced some tough days on overgrown hiking trails and in rough weather conditions. We worked hard to satisfy our bottomless appetite with some mouth-watering local dishes. In this episode we hiked the southern part of Hokkaido from Eniwa to Hakodate. This means we made it across the whole island, a trail 1127 kilometers long, all on foot. And if we include all the dead ends we had to backtrack, this even comes to 1295 kilometers. From Eniwa we hiked into the western Sapporo mountains. These mountains are not impressively tall, but we were surprised by how beautiful they are, mainly due to its vegetation. The forest is incredibly lush and dense. Located in this mountain range are some huge huts. We slept in one of them called Bankei Sanso. The timing was perfect as that night was going to be stormy with lots of rain and wind. The following morning the skies had cleared again and we began our ascent of Mount Sapporo. We're definitely feeling the effort by now after hiking over 700 kilometers. Our bodies are tired, but there's still something incredibly satisfying about slowly making our way up the mountain. The roots of these trees are incredible, beautiful to look at, but not always easy to walk over. Our route went over the Nakayama Pass. We stopped at this roadside station for its famous toge no agemo, whole potato wrapped in a crispy, slightly sweet batter and deep fried. 3 of them on a skewer, exactly what a hungry hiker needs. The paths here were full of ticks. Each day we removed around 100 of them from our pants. Next to these little bastards there were also many beautiful other insects on the trail, like this cicada that just landed on Lisa.
Bye bye my friends, gonna miss you!
Not only did we find a lot of cool insects, but also this fella, a Japanese rat snake.
Amazing.
And Rahul found a friend again.
Yeah.
Bye bye my friend, I'm going to miss you. In the distance Mount Yotei appeared, a giant volcano towering above the rest of the landscape. We are very much looking forward to climb this one. Unfortunately the weather was not in our favor. There was a massive amount of rain on its way. We pitched our tent on the campground at the foot of the mountain and hoped that the rain would pass us. Well, it did not. At least there was a good Japanese onsen right next to the campground where we could spend the evening.
En here's Lisa in the massage chair.
The next morning we were in no rush as the rain was still pouring down. After the rain stopped we started hiking, but it was already too late to climb Mount Yotei.
This is where the milk comes from.
We walked around the volcano towards Niseko. Here we found another red snake. In Niseko we met up with Rie, A true trail angel.
Hold your cup with both hands. Yes.
She introduced us to her friends, made an amazing dinner, and gave us a place to sleep for the night.
どうぞ。ありがとうございます。どうぞ。Welcome to Niseko.
And as if she hadn't done enough, she took us to a small festival in Niseko that evening. The festival ended with a powerful Yotei taiko performance, with two drums answering each other as the fireworks burst into the night sky. It almost felt like watching a battle between the drums and the fireworks. The next morning, Riyadh drove us back to our trek just north of Niseko.
The nature is just wonderful.
Right. But you guys hiked a lot, right? In the
Yeah.
north?
Yeah.
At the trailhead, we said our goodbyes, and if you're watching, thank you so much once again.
Keeps on going.
To our west lay the Niseko mountain range, famous as a skiing destination in winter, but as you can see, it's equally magnificent for hiking in the summer. We are heading to the top of Mount Annupuri. From the top you should have a spectacular view of Mount Yotei, but as it has been cloudy all day, we did not expect to have any view at all. Just before reaching the summit we rose above the clouds, and Mount Yotei appeared alongside us, its peak finally breaking into view. We descended along the western slope, with breathtaking views of the clouds rolling over the surrounding mountains. Look at how good this trail is. We could definitely get used to this.
And that's where we'll sleep tonight.
Down in the valley we entered the clouds once again and pitched our tent at the campground. With plenty of daylight still left, Lisa took the opportunity to share some of our photos on Instagram.
I want breakfast.
What you got there?
A blueberry cheese cream bun.
We chose a route that took us further west, leading us through a volcanic landscape with old sulfur mines and small mountain lakes. One of the plants growing here is poison ivy. As the name suggests, better not to touch this one and keep an eye out while walking through the thick vegetation. The route we had planned did not quite work out, as the trail going down to the village of Hankoshi no longer existed. We had to hike back eastwards over the mountains towards the nearest road. First we climbed steeply up, before descending just as steeply over big steps and rocks. In the heat, with our tired legs, it was tough going, and after the descent we still had extra kilometers ahead of us.
Really fat caterpillar. Ready to be a
Butterfly?
poopa. Ready to be a poopa.
Rankoshi is a small village, but it has a huge park stretching along the river. A perfect place for us to set up camp in one of its quiet corners. The following morning we woke up to the sound of rain, dragged ourselves out of bed and packed up our gear.
Rainy days. Woo!
We followed the river along its dikes, winding our way through rice fields. From here, Hokkaido's western coast is just a short distance away. We actually wanted to take a path through the mountains southwards, but from the information that we got, this would not be possible.
Voila. Today's lunch is corn and mayonnaise bread.
Hokkaido corn. Yummy! It's so weird.
Oishi.
Since the coastal route consists entirely of paved roads, we decided to try the smaller forestry roads through the mountains instead. On the map this looks very plausible.
This is where the road ends. It's just too dense. We tried the forestry road, but we failed. So back to the paved road again.
After a long day of hiking, we were hot and exhausted when we stumbled upon a beautiful beach. Two men grilling nearby came over and introduced themselves as the big boss and his longtime childhood friend. Without hesitation, they handed us ice-cold beers and grilled sausages and invited us to spend the evening with them.
So the and just close is the sea. Yeah, really close.
It turned out they were hosting a camping trip for the Niseko volleyball team, their families and friends. The big boss is their coach, an incredibly easygoing and enthusiastic guy who knew how to keep the kids entertained. What started as a random encounter on the beach turned into an unforgettable evening with some truly wonderful people from Niseko.
So, how are we feeling today?
A little bit hangover.
Feeling miserable, nauseous and hot, I could not walk very far the next day. So we stopped in Shimamaki, the next village along our route, to set up camp. The village is full of tiny surprises. Lisa keeps finding beetles, tree frogs and all kinds of little creatures. Behind the roadside station, we found the perfect little camping spot. A freshly mowed patch of grass, ideal for pitching our tent. After a good night's sleep, my energy had returned and we headed towards Mount Kariba. Luckily, we found just in time that our planned trail had been closed for several years because of a broken bridge. We did, however, read about another route that was open, although it would take us a little bit away from our intended direction. To reach the mountain, we once again picked the forestry road over the paved road. And yes, you probably already guessed it, this did not work out.
Not doable.
There is no path.
Here Lisa's waving her sticks trying to keep the horseflies off. We also found a lot of remarkable beetles like this stag beetle and this green drone beetle. In the middle of the forest there is a free unmanned campground called Karokogen. It is beautiful and very well maintained, but the guests stay away as this forest is known to be a prime bear habitat. To keep the bears away, we made a small fire in one of the grill pits. We store our food in odorless bags in an earth sack, a bag strong enough to withstand the bear, and tie it to a tree away from the tent. No bears visited at night and we slept very well. The following morning we started climbing Mount Kariba. The trail was quite steep and had a lot of birch trees growing over it. They grow horizontally because during the winter the young trees and smaller branches are pushed down by a thick layer of snow and stay bent like this afterwards. As we climb higher, the twisted trees make every step a little more complicated. We squeeze between them, take big steps over rocks and carefully make our way along the narrow gaps. As we reach the top, the landscape suddenly opens up, with beautiful orange wild lilies scattered across the mountain. We read stories of hikers battling their way to the bamboo beyond the summit, so we were expecting a tough section. But someone had just cleared the trail. No bamboo battle today. Awesome. On the way back, the twisted trees returned, and once again we found ourselves ducking, twisting and turning our way through. After our descent, we came into an old growth forest. There, between the leaves on the path, we found something really cool. Can you spot it? This is a mamushi, an extremely venomous pit viper. It is just a baby, but that doesn't make him less dangerous. And what an aggressive little one this is. Like I said earlier, the path over Mount Kariba took us somewhat out of our intended direction, and we came all the way back to the coast. Among the rocks, fishermen are catching sea urchins, or uni as they're known in Japan. They are delicious, and I can't wait to order some in a restaurant. Once we reached Setana, it was time for a much needed bath in the local onsen. After days on the trail, our smell was becoming quite impressive, especially our permanent wet shoes and damp clothes. Luckily you can't smell us through the screen.
Oh, that's a sharp one.
From the west coast we crossed towards Hokkaido's east coast. The island is quite narrow here, and after hiking almost 44 kilometers, We nearly made it across in a single day. We ended up in a rather special place, Pekolela, a former school that has been transformed into a cozy guest house, with lovely staff, kind volunteers, and locals who came by just to hang out and enjoy the warm atmosphere. After all the kindness we've experienced, we spent one more evening together, watching the fireworks and having a little competition to see whose sparkler burns the longest. But like every good stay, this one has come to an end. It's time to pack our bags and move on. Of course, we couldn't leave Hokkaido without trying Genghis Khan. Sizzling lamb on the grill, accompanied with cabbage and a rich dipping sauce. It is not a Mongolian dish, but typical for Hokkaido, and also invented here. At the local butcher in Yakumo, we enjoyed it alongside a beautiful marbled wagyu beef. Both were absolutely delicious. From Yakumo we followed the coastline southwards. This turned out to be one of the less enjoyable sections, as much of the route followed a busy road. Near the town of Mori, an emergency announcement was broadcasted and echoed over the landscape. With our poor Japanese skills, we could only understand the words for radio, television and tsunami. Quite scary. Luckily our phones could translate the message. There had been an earthquake just south of us, and there was no danger for a tsunami. We came across a lovely bakery called Obasepan. Everything looked and smelled amazing, and the staff was every bit as sweet as their pastries. We went for a pumpkin-filled pastry, and it was phenomenal. The staff were genuinely impressed with our journey and curious to hear more about our adventures. With our bellies full, we set off towards Lake Onuma. The lake is dotted with dozens of charming tiny forested islands, linked by a network of bridges. Hopping from island to island was a playful change from the rough trails that we had become accustomed to. From here we continued towards Hakodate, crossing our final mountain before reaching the city. With the sun shining, butterflies are everywhere along the trail. When we arrived in Hakodate, there was one last thing we had to do: eat kaisendon, a rice bowl generously topped with an assortment of fresh, raw seafood. You can choose almost anything as a topping. I went for sea urchin, salmon roe, king crab and prawns.
We did it! Over Hokkaido! Hiking! Goodbye!